Hello and welcome to this Ask Amy. Today we're focusing on our drained investigation, our investigation of the Houston Water Department. We've been investigating water billing issues with the Houston Water Department since November of 2022. We actually started the summer before November of 2022, but we, in November of 22, said, let's give it a name, let's go all in, let's tackle some of these issues that we see so many Houstonians having. And the reason we wanted to focus today's episode on that is because a lot has changed. You know, now Houston has a brand new mayor who is acknowledging these issues and says he is committed to fixing them, to repairing them. So Mayor John Whitmire agreed to sit down with me for an exclusive one-on-one interview. We've shared bits and pieces of that interview, but I really wanted to do it justice and let you hear all of what he had to say in our interview. So that's where we're going to start today, answering a lot of your questions along the way. Let's get started. How would you describe the current state of the Houston Water Department?
I think it's very much in turmoil. I've been here 2 months. I inherited a system that did not make water billing and accurate and fair water billing a priority. We need to totally hit the restart button, which is I've instructed the Water Department to do probably 6 weeks ago. I want to thank you for bringing it to our attention, but for your reporting, I doubt if we'd even be having this conversation. It is a broken system. Our infrastructure has not kept up with our growth. It has not been made a priority. We need additional resources. But first of all, we have to admit that it's broken, that we're going to do something about it. And that's the reason I ran for mayor. That's what I've done since day one, probably working most days, 18-hour days, to address not only our infrastructure and water billing, but sanitation and streets and public safety. I am challenged to get to the bottom of all this. I'm impatient, and water billing, in your experience with bringing it to the public's attention, needs correcting, and that's the reason I'm willing to sit down with you.
All right, so we know there are a lot of things wrong at the water department. I mean, where do you even begin to repair the system that got this way from years and years of neglect, from broken equipment not being replaced? Mayor Whitmire says he wants to start with speeding up the replacement of those faulty old remote read sensors that are attached to every water meter. Now, Public Works is already replacing all 500,000 of them. Sometimes they've said it's 480,000 or they've said it's 500,000. They are already replacing all of them, but they are moving at a snail's pace. The director of Public Works told me in an interview in February of 23 that she planned to tackle this to replace all of them over 5 years. But then she reported to City Council in December that because of COVID and because of supply chain issues, that 5 years had actually turned into 10 years, that it was going to take 10 years to replace all 500,000 of these remote read sensors. That's 2030. That is an incredibly long time, especially when you consider that she's saying the lifespan of these remote read sensors is about 10 years. So by the time you get to installing the very last ones, the ones you replaced at the beginning of that 10 years are then out of life again. I mean, those are dead. So it's kind of crazy. I wanted you to listen to what she told council members. I want you to hear it straight from her. This is from a city council meeting on December 6th of 2023. Here you go.
This chart is a visual timeline of our advances in replacing the aging remote reading devices on water meters into the future with a completion date of 2030. We predict an average of around 60,000 reading devices will be replaced every year for the next 7 years, starting with 2024, which is the coming up this year, and that we'll have more than 500,000 of these replaced citywide by 2030. We openly acknowledge that this completion date was not what we originally projected when City Council approved the contract back in 2019. We had a plan to complete that deployment in 10 years, which would have had us done by early 2029. However, this schedule that we have from the provider of these devices and our ability to deliver it allows us to get back to delivery in 2030, even though we've been set back 2 to 3 years by the global chip shortage, supply chain issues, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, of the more than 500,000 we have in the field, 125,000 are the ones that are not transmitting or not working. We have 125,000 remote read devices that are not working today.
Okay, so that is what Director of Public Works Carol Haddock said back in December when Mayor Turner was mayor. Now we know our new mayor, John Whitmire, he's been on the job for about 3 months. He's learning about all of this and trying to catch up. Part of his plan, he says, to get the water department back on track is to speed up the installation of these remote reading sensors, starting with the devices that are currently not working at all. About 85,000 have already been replaced, but he's saying there are about 100,000, he's told, that don't work at all. They're going to target those, and the plan is to get those all replaced in 9 months by January.
The problem was, before I got here, was no one would talk to you about it. It just wasn't a friendly system. And of course, the administration wouldn't talk to you or the public about how we're going to deal with it. I'm for transparency. That's the reason I'm sitting here letting you know. Let Houstonians know that I'm aware of the problem and we're going to fix it once and for all.
That is good news to hear. So those 100,000 sensors that they say are not working right now, they say every day new ones are failing. So
when I sat down with you, it was 100,000.
Right.
If it's more, by the time we get up, we'll deal with those too. But you know, that is a broken infrastructure system, and it goes along with our streets and our drainage and all the other infrastructure in Houston that has been kept out of the public eye. But for residents see their water bill, travelers see the condition of our streets. So, you know, I ran for mayor because I was concerned about Houston's condition. We have a great city, great people, but we've got some challenges that were not being addressed. And in fact, they were being kicked down the road. It's hard to get the sensors right now due to COVID, due to other supply complications. We're doing everything we can. Now, you know, I'm assuming, again, the malfeasance on behalf of the city government, they didn't have the capacity to play catch up. So that's part of the problem. You know, when you plan for a 5-year replacement, and I want it done in 9 months, it does make the supply chain become an issue. So, you know, we got to deal with that. And so we're going to start purchasing equipment tomorrow.
That is just part of the mayor's new plan. When we come back, I'm going to let Mayor Whitmire explain how he plans to bill customers so that everyone receives a fair and accurate bill until all of those remote read sensors are installed and working. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Ask Amy. We are talking about Houston water bills, the Houston Water Department, and I'm sharing with you my one-on-one exclusive interview with Mayor John Whitmire about this problem and how he plans to fix these issues that we have uncovered over about the last 2 years. Okay, so we shared part of his plan about replacing all of those remote read sensors and doing it at a much faster pace than what was actually already happening. The other part of his plan is big. Basically, the mayor says if you get a water bill that is abnormally or unusually high, you should be able to call the water department and get an adjustment, an automatic adjustment to reduce it. So here's the formula. Here's what they're looking at using. The city would take the 3 lowest months usage. So they'd look at your bills over the last year, the prior year, and they'd say, hey, which 3 months did you have the lowest water bills, the lowest usage? They would take those 3 months and take the average of them, add them together, divide them by 3, and they would say that's your average usage, like not looking at this extremely high unexplained bill. So we're going to adjust your bill so that you don't have to pay more than that, and they're going to adjust it to that. So even bigger than that, The mayor wants the water department to be able to identify water bills that are higher than that average before they ever are sent out to customers. So the water department could correct them before you get them and are shocked and alarmed and then have to go through the whole rigmarole of contacting the water department and saying, hey, what's wrong here? So using that formula, they want to be able to have a computer program that does that, because obviously 500,000 water meters, they can't do this manually. So they're working on a computer program that before those bills are sent out to customers, it would identify like, hey, this bill should raise a red flag. It'll be kicked back to water customer service. They will then contact the customer and say, or adjust the bill and then send it out to the customer. Here's the adjusted bill. So that water employees will now know exactly what to charge you. We will understand exactly why we were charged this certain amount. And they would do that until you get one of these new remote read sensors so that they get an actual water meter reading. Because what we're getting right now are estimates of your usage. And that's what is causing, in a lot of cases, these really high water bills.
I thought for sure yesterday I was going to roll out a plan this week. But after hearing from Public Works and seeing some of their proposals and some of the still gaps, I said, no, we're gonna wait and do it right. So I'm gonna do it right. It's gonna be comprehensive. It won't be perfect, but it'll sure be a heck of an improvement. On the billing part of it, the accuracy of it, the fairness of it, and then how we respond to people that have outstanding huge water bills right now. Where I was disappointed yesterday with Public Works and the Water Department is we had a computer program that we were going to use that would catch and prevent the exorbitant bills from going out in the first place. In other words, internally, they would just be kept. And then we would notify the user that your water bill that we're going to send to you is going to be the average of the 3 lowest months last year. And so that would be a fair billing. But the computer programmers said, well, it's not as complete as we had told you. So instead of doing it piecemeal and having even more broken billing, I said, let's put a halt to it. Let's do it right.
Who is in charge of getting that plan together?
The Water Department, Public Works.
Carol Haddock?
Carol Haddock, it starts and ends at the top.
Do you think that water customers can trust that Carol Haddock can fix these problems?
They will trust the city of Houston when I roll out a plan.
And the reason I ask is because for about the last 2 years, she spent denying that there was a problem and saying 99.2% of all bills are correct.
That's the reason I told you a while ago, you're not going to fix something until you admit that it's broken. Obviously, we had an election and there's a new mayor, and I have standards that will be met or we'll replace the personnel.
So what advice do you have for customers right now? While I was sitting in the council meeting, I got emails from people.
Sure, I would tell them to ignore the exorbitant bill. You're not gonna, of course you're not gonna owe that to the city of Houston. Call the water department, call the mayor's office. I just said that, call the mayor's office. And we will have someone deal with that exorbitant water bill. You won't have to pay an exorbitant water bill.
I know you've heard the same questions because I think I've been CC'd on some of the same emails to your office. Is why is Carol Haddock allowed to keep her job?
Because we're in the middle of a review, and Carol Haddock has been working for me for 2 months. We're holding her accountable. We're in the middle of transforming the water billing system. Getting back to those broken water lines in mains, I think you're seeing a quicker response. People in most of the departments realize I came into this job to make a difference. I'm going to make a difference, and everyone's going to be held accountable. Not only Carol, but each and every department head. So everyone's under review. They need to deliver, and I could go on and on about the accountability consideration that I bring to City Hall. I think it's a leadership problem. You know, the buck stops at the top. She and the administration should have made this a greater priority. And I would suggest it's not your reporting that really brought the heat or the appearance that it wasn't being addressed, and not on that kicking the can down the road. So I can't defend other people's actions. I've been here 2 months. I'm on the job, and I'm demanding accountability. When we're ready to roll it out, I'll let you be the first one to know. At the same time, we let Houstonians know we want a complete, fair, and accurate water billing system. I inherited a very broken system. There was some Band-Aid put on it in December that made little difference. I don't want to not have a complete package when I go public with it, and we're going to take our time and do it right. In the meantime, if you have an exorbitant water bill, don't be alarmed. You're not going to have to pay it. Call the water department, call the mayor's office, and we will work to see that you get a fair and accurate resolution.
And hey, while you're listening to all of this, you should not forget that we are scheduled for another water rate increase on April 1st. And we're going to have water rate increases every April 1st through 2026. So I asked Mayor Whitmire if he plans to roll that back. You'll hear his answer when we come back. Welcome back. Now, even if our water bills were fair and accurate and we were billed only for the water that we were using, our bills would still be higher than what we're accustomed to because our water rates are increasing every April 1st. This started when City Council passed a 5-year rate increase in 2021. So every year on April 1st, our water rates increase. Now, I've used my own water bills to show you how much more we're paying for the same amount of water. And I can tell you by looking at my own bills that in February of 2021, 10,000 gallons of water cost me $112. That was before the first rate increase. $112 for 10,000 gallons of water. In February of 2023, the same 10,000 gallons of water cost $205. That's almost double for the same amount of water. Now, Public Works tells me that this next water rate increase on April 1st of 2024 will raise rates by about 9% on average for customers. Some customers may be a bit higher, some customers may be a bit lower, but let's talk about how we got here. Former Mayor Sylvester Turner proposed that 5-year rate increase because the EPA had been on Houston's back for years to repair the city's infrastructure and all those pipes because we have traditionally a lot of sewage spills because of cracked pipes and overflows. So Turner said those rate increases were needed to pay for the work that the EPA is requiring the city to make. We had a consent decree with the EPA. The city of Houston said, hey, yes, we'll do all these things. And so I asked Mayor Whitmire if he plans to continue those rate increases or freeze them.
We are already under an agreement with the federal government. When I walked into the job, there is a binding agreement with, if we don't want penalties, with the federal government to address our water and our wastewater system.
Are you still looking at doing an audit?
We're auditing all the departments in the city, looking for cost savings and waste and conflicts of interest and duplication. You know, we've been here 2 months. There's 22 departments, huge budget, huge operation. And so the first order of business is to put our hands around the operation that we inherited. It's a real challenge because, as I told you earlier, many of our challenges have been kicked down the road, kicked the can down the road, so to speak, for many years. And I don't have the patience to do that. Number one, I want the transparency that people can see what I witnessed when I got here.
And lastly, I asked Mayor Whitmire about the ongoing OIG investigation into the water department employee that we uncovered steering millions of dollars in water repair contracts to her family and friends. Hey, Andrew.
Yes.
Amy Davis with KPRC. We want to talk to you about your business, Lou's Construction.
It's not a good time right now.
Okay, I just want to talk to you about how you happened to get a City of Houston contract for $4.5 million.
No, yeah, I understand, but just not a good time.
The man on the other side of this door is Andrew Travis Thomas. State business records show he is the registered agent and only listed manager of Lou's Construction and Inspection. Lou's first day of existence as a business was February 23rd. 6 months later, council awarded Lou's $4.5 million for emergency water line inspection repair over 9 months. What we find troubling is that your sister works for the City of Houston. Did she give you that contract?
See your card?
Yeah, this is my card. What's your experience fixing water leak lines and breaks?
Like I say, I can give you all that information. I am on a call right now.
KPRC2 Investigates has confirmed through interviews his sister Patrice Lee is a Houston Public Works project manager who handed out emergency contracts. Lou's Construction and Inspection is not only owned by her brother on paper, state filings show the business address for Lou's is the same Bel Air UPS store address and box as other businesses in Patrice Lee's name.
And answer any questions you may have.
You promised you'll call me back?
Yes, ma'am.
While we waited, we called Patrice.
Hello?
Hi, Patrice.
Yes.
Hey, this is Amy Davis with KPRC. I'm standing outside of your brother's townhome. We came over here because I know you... She hung up. Do you know if IAD will recommend charges at the end of their investigation?
I have no idea what the legal authorities will do, but it's a internal affairs investigation. And other agencies are probably going to be brought into it as well. The Inspector General's office is looking at it. So, you know, that's an independent review that I'm not privileged to, or it's not one of my roles.
Okay. Do you feel like Public Works has a good control right now, a good handle on the water leaks and the cracks? Are they currently fixing them?
First of all, you know the answer to that. Of course they don't. We have an old infrastructure system, and it hasn't been a priority in years.
But one of the reports from people was that some of these Public Works employees were inflating the numbers of leaks or intentionally not fixing them.
I mean, that's your job. I got here December 31st or January 1. I'm reviewing the operation of each and every department to try to do a really good, transparent job of in reporting to the public and to you what I'm finding. And we're understaffed in many areas of city government, certainly Public Works. I think they have 100 empty positions. We're having accountability. We meet regularly, and they know I'm a no-nonsense person when it comes to public service, and I'm impatient, and people have put up with bad water billing for too long. I want fair, accurate water bills.
And that is exactly what we want, fair and accurate water bills. And that's the whole reason we began this drained investigation 20 months ago. And that's also why we are staying on top of these issues until they're resolved. We're looking big picture. Sure, we're answering your individual questions, helping with your individual bills, but we want to get this straightened out for our city so that we can all have fair and accurate bills. You can watch all of our content and most of the stories that we've done in our series on click2houston.com/drained. Just go there. We've also got some really good practical tips for you if you go there to see what you should do if you get a really high water bill that you don't think you owe. And as always, if you've got a question for me that we don't answer there in that section, you can email me at askamy@kprc.com. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.